December's here and the market's on edge. Are we getting ready for a Santa rally or a Christmas crash? We're breaking down the setups, the sentiment, and the smart money moves into year end. So you're not trading on hope. You're trading with a plan. This is Beyond the Trade, Santa rally or Christmas crash. Let's get into it. Welcome to Beyond the Trade, where the levels don't lie, the trades hit hard, and we're here to cut through the noise. No scripts, no safety nets, just raw market talk. Lock in. It's time to go Beyond the Trade.
Beyond the Trade is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing you hear should be taken as financial advice. Always do your own research and consult a qualified professional before making investment decisions.
Well.
Here we are. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yes, I did have a great Thanksgiving. Spent a lot of time with the family, rest and relax, and it was wonderful. What about yourself?
Yeah, it was good. Same here. Real quiet. Ate too much, and weather was decent. Got out a little bit, so it was good.
It's been getting chilly here in Austin, Texas. About under 50 today, but tell you what, them Longhorns beat the Aggies. I'm sorry to all you. Sorry, I gotta say it. I'm sorry to all you Aggie fans out there. I'm sure I've got some. We've got family members that went to A&M, and that's okay. So I'm not a hater, but I will say we did win, and we did keep them away from getting into the SEC championship. We'll see if we make the playoff, but I think Arch Manning played a really nice game.
Yeah, it was fun to watch.
Whole team, not just Arch, whole team played really well. Yeah, shout out everybody. Michael Taff.
Well, if you're going to shout out your horns, I mean, the Chicago Bears beat the defending Super Bowl champions on Friday.
That was a good game. That's a weird game, a weird Black Friday game. I was on the way to my game.
Bears.
Hey, welcome to Beyond the Trade, where we talk about sports. I will say, though, it's interesting because, this is kind of close to financial markets, but I saw that there's some class action lawsuit going on against Kalshi, which, Kalshi and Polymarket basically, it's effectively, it's prediction markets, right? And they all got super popular after the election. And it is interesting. I think it's a great source of seeing kind of where money actually falls. And there's been a significant amount of volume on some of this stuff. It's interesting. Like the whole mayoral race for New York, but it's interesting, and it can be an additional source, honestly, for trading purposes. But that's enough on that. Acro, are we in for a Santa rally, or are we in for a Grinch stole Christmas?
Well, my thought is I'm always the guy looking positive, so I think Santa rally is setting up quite nice. I look at the last week, which was obviously a short week, but you look at SPY, for example, and man, it had a pretty good week last week.
Yeah, I would kind of caution everybody with this is it was a short week. It was a low volume week. We can have our emotions kind of tied up potentially in this. Hey, we're just rallying. I might as well just throw everything in. But if you notice, and those listening, I mean, we had substantially low volume and small candles, small price movement on both Wednesday and Friday of last week. Obviously, Friday was a half day, but this is certainly something that I'm keeping on watch. I am not throwing all of my money in long because a topic that I really want to talk about is reversion to the mean. And I think, when I say that is we had a really big drop, and we discussed this on November 20th, had a big drop. And of course, things don't bottom in one day. Things don't top in one day. And you have to realize that as a trader, that everything kind of, well, I don't know what the percentage is, but 90% of the market movement is consolidation and 10% is breakout or breakdown. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's something to really think about here, especially as we enter the year end. A lot of funds may be readjusting. A lot of people may be selling for tax loss harvesting. There's all sorts of factors working right now. But what I fear and what I see right now is just low volume kind of melt up. And if we have a gap up here, a lot of shorts are going to be trapped. But I also think there's a ton of people long, potentially more than we think, that are potentially trapped. So it's an interesting market setup going into Christmas for sure, into December.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, 700's a huge mark on SPY. If you move your chart into the weekly,
Yep.
I mean, for a short week with little volume, it was an incredible candle.
Absolutely.
And it's sitting right under all-time highs on SPY. 700's not far away. Is there enough people that are going to try to push it to hit it? If it hits 700, I would definitely be pulling some money out of the market. I think it'll be a sharp rejection at that.
I want to say this again, but there's uncanny comparison to December and January of 2024, where we had a pretty big sell-off the beginning first week of January. That was quickly bought back up, and then it hovered around all-time highs for some time before taking a significant, breather during and before and during the whole tariff situation. It was actually about a 20% pullback. Mm-hmm. So I think I would be very aware of this all-time high right now, and we may break it. We may hover there. But what I would be watching for is as a gap up. Like a gap up is probably going to rip everything. But I would expect a lot of hesitancy going into this Fed meeting, because back in 2024, the Fed meeting there, when Powell said, we're going to keep rates higher for longer, like we've always said, a lot is riding on this December 10th FOMC meeting.
Yep, for sure. You had mentioned mean reversion, and if I'm looking at SPY for an example on a weekly chart, the RSI is pretty much up there, pretty close to 80, which is an indicator that it's, it usually gets there and then makes a change and heads back down to get back to its regular price, or what regular price should be, or average price over time. And it's getting there.
Yep.
So a big drop is not out of the question by any means. It never is, but we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really nice green days in a row on SPY, and given that last week was a short week, it's going to catch its breath here sooner or later.
It's easy to get your emotions tied up in seeing everything going up and fearing I might miss out. I think it's important this holiday season to, with our money, protect our capital, right? Very, very important. And I think, don't get sucked into maybe what Twitter is saying or what other people are saying. Hey, we got to just pile in one way or another, and to always think about, always be that devil's advocate, and to think about the other side of the trade, beyond the trade. You got to go beyond the trade.
Got to go beyond the trade. Pull up some of these other big ones, Adam. Tesla, Google, Apple. Yeah. Let's see where they're at compared to SPY and all-time highs.
Yeah, so Tesla is back into on our weekly range, kind of back into these higher or lower 400s, and I know we had kind of a little bet going on that I thought we were going to see 360s before we saw 430s, and you might be right.
Yeah, 430 is a pretty solid level that I would watch Tesla for a rejection there at open maybe, but if it doesn't, then hang on. I guess it's a crazy one to follow, but it moves so much.
I think we have to acknowledge, because if you're not clued in on the little volume deals down here at the bottom, if you're not clued in on those, you got to try to understand what might be happening. You don't need to be a pro, but anybody can look at Tesla and say, this was the lowest volume week since February of 25. Okay. where there was pretty much just indecision. Honestly, it's around the same spot. But whenever something has kind of hovered around all-time highs for some time, then has low volume, whether it's on a move up or a move down, you just need to know that the market hasn't quite made its mind up yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Was Apple, I think, is at all-time highs now, or pretty close to it. Yeah.
Apple has been a strong, I think, beneficiary of delaying their AI integration. I think I said this last time, but my belief is you don't hear them in the news really talking about how they're putting out $500 billion contracts to certain data center guys, and I think that they're benefiting from the fact that they waited. Um, Apple's one of the more bullish stocks that I can see here, but if you look at our RSI, our relative strength index, and I'm not not a huge indicators guy, but you can tell that everything is pretty extended. But there's a saying, right? The the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay liquid, right?
That's it.
So don't take anything we say, particularly last week or this week, as like I'm just gonna sell everything and maybe even go short. The market can stay irrational, whether that's valuations or whether that's technicals. No matter how you're analyzing it, you got to know that the market's programmatically supposed to go up and to the right.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly one to watch. We'll pull up some others. Meta's one that you've talked about a lot. And
yeah, boy, I missed the boat on that one last week. That was one of my Sunday bangers.
Yeah, and it was a banger, in fact.
Yeah, it had a nice move, and I wasn't really paying attention to much last week, to be honest, so it slipped through the cracks. But that would have been a great options play right there.
I mean, for those who are less kind of technically inclined, the RSI thing might not make any sense, but it's something that I pull up. I know you use it a lot more, Acro, but on larger time frames, it's kind of nice to look at your relative strength index and see where does it fall. It's usually, below or around 30 means it's oversold, above or around 70 is kind of overbought. And sorry for those who are beginners not really understanding this, but basically what I'm trying to say is, there needed to be a mean reversion, meaning this thing has been beaten down so hard that eventually there's going to be a dead cat bounce of some sort. Maybe some call it a sucker's rally, but there's always some level of move back up even after a big drawdown, but that does not mean it's just going to keep going up forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look at the RSI there on a daily. It's reset basically at the 50 mark, which is, I say reset. It's basically for lack of a better term. I mean, that is its mean reversion.
Kind of a midpoint.
Right. That's where the stock should be in theory, and it's there, but it's on an upswing. So, I mean, that's the thing. They go overbought, they go oversold, back and forth, but you wait for a reset at that 50 level and wait to see what's going to happen is a pretty good indicator most of the time. At least that's what I find.
Mm-hmm. And like we've said many a time, the market doesn't top at once, it doesn't bottom once. I would not be surprised to see another kind of maybe a double bottom around, the 580s on Meta before going back up. If you look back to Liberation Day or whatever, April, it bottomed at around 480, came back up to 580, and then went back down to 480 before moving back up. And that's something that I've learned a lot from trading crypto in the past is, you see some pretty irrational moves, and you see, if something kind of races up and then kind of stutters on low volume, it is very, very often, not guaranteed, very, very often that you get another opportunity lower. So it's kind of even intermittent drops. I would say be careful and just know, everybody wants a Santa rally. I get it. retail earnings have been really good. You know, it's bullish for sure, good data.
Yeah.
But I would just be careful. I would be
Yeah.
careful. A ton is riding on this December 10th Fed decision. And particularly, my personal opinion is that they're going to cut 25 basis points. I think Jerome Powell wants to go out with a bang. And I know that tech is going to benefit from that. Real estate will benefit from that. There's a lot of, everybody will consider that bullish, but it doesn't mean that long term that solves every problem. I could see still everything racing back up to highs and then stuttering.
Yeah, I mean, as far as real estate, in interest rates, my understanding, and I'm no expert on this, but the U.S. The 10-year Treasury bonds are usually tied pretty tight to mortgages. Is that true?
Uh, yeah, I mean, when it comes to people moving a lot, some real estate classes, heavily depend on people moving and relocating, whether it be self storage is something I've talked about before. Is heavily dependent on that and is struggling. But as far as interest rate changes, it literally directly impacts the bottom line of everything that's a floating
Right.
rate debt, and your real estate industry is going to be very levered just naturally. I will say that I think banks are being a little tighter when it comes to lending. I think they're being more careful. But I think when you get around to probably 2026, I think next year, there's a lot of real estate in general that is struggling. And I think we may see some distress in the real estate market because rates have stayed higher for longer, and folks who got loans, maybe it's a mom and pop that opened a hotel, or maybe a office building or whatever. Um, I think you're going to see that when their construction loans kind of end, right, or your maturity is coming and your interest only period is gone after about 3 years, pretty typical term. If you got a loan in 22 and 23, you're underwater,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of stuff that's going to suffer from that. I do think we see some distress in 26.
Commercials hurting pretty bad, especially office space right now.
It,
Um, I talked to people back in Chicago, and the downtown is half of it's a ghost town. The windows are black. There's nobody in most of those buildings down there. There were some massive buildings around O'Hare Airport. Those have been hotels. I mean, big hotels, Hiltons and Marriott's. I mean, they're really nice big hotels that are closed completely because nobody's traveling there. The business isn't there anymore. They don't go to the office. They work from home.
mm-hmm, it's that's certainly a struggling asset class, and I think you're really only going to see the Class A stuff perform well. If you're below Class A, it's going to be pretty difficult to fill it up. I mean, just that work from home deal is permeated that entire market, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. But I think the whole point here is there's a lot more going on beneath the surface than we see. The whole market has been dependent on the data center AI trade, all of it. I mean, you look at one of my darlings, APLD, with the trillion lines on the chart here. APLD looks incredibly bullish, but we need to look for whenever old supports become past resistances.
Mm-hmm.
So I look here on APLD, and it's probably right about at the 30 level, 29 and some change, right at about 30. Uh, I think it wouldn't surprise me if things go up there and kind of take a little breather at these old supports to turn resistance, come back down to find more support at an old resistance before going back up, if that is the plan, kind of like I'm showing on the screen. But it very easily could go the opposite way. Regardless, I think things have some room up. But what scares me is uncertainty before this Fed meeting. Markets
Yeah.
hate uncertainty.
I mean, a lot of the big stocks are a mixed bag right now. You got Google's up at all time highs. Amazon is down. But it's on a upward swing. So there's no one. It's not like five or six of these of the big names are all up at highs right now. A lot of them are recovering from some pretty big losses.
Right. Uh, it's so noteworthy. And for those who don't know how to read volume, I recommend the book Volume Price Analysis by Anna Cooling. Um, Again, there is no perfect indicator. There's no perfect way to look at charts, but it's pretty easy to interpret. This is NVIDIA that I have pulled up. NVIDIA has printed the lowest volume. I'm on the weekly, right? No, I'm on, sorry. This is Google. Um, High volume on the week, high. But you look and you go to the daily. Of course, a lot of people followed Warren Buffett into this trade.
Mm-hmm.
Berkshire bought a good amount of Google, and Google's come out with some great news. But you look, and the lowest volume days are usually accompanied by a slight drop, or at least some settling. So it would not surprise me to see Google go back to about low 300s. I think Nvidia is another one to look at. Um, low volume, super low volume on Nvidia, meaning there's uncertainty in the market, and it might be this and everything else trying to locate a bottom. And a key thing for when we're talking about mean reversion is understanding the fact that these things do have to take a breather and to never force a trade. This goes for life too. Whenever you feel like you're forcing something, it's just kind of uncomfortable. You need to have things come naturally. If you're trying to force, I want 20% on Nvidia today, no matter what, I'm going to trade it. That often turns into a bad trade. You're
Mm.
locked into kind of a mindset. To watch your mindset, especially now, just general uncertainty, right? Just like we said at the beginning, are we going to get a Santa rally, or are we going to get a little crash, mini crash, maybe? Hopefully, not too bad. Um, it's just, I think, awareness, and then the ability to just sit back and sit on your hands is one of the biggest lessons that I hope I can convey here.
Yeah, looking at Nvidia, 175 has been a pretty solid level, and it broke through and then came right back down. It's kind of where it's sitting now.
Mm-hmm.
It's indecision for me on that one. I don't know if I would play it or not. But you're right, the volume has been down for a couple of months on it, really.
Yep, and it's very much lower volume and uncertainty. So, and it's very important to look back, and even if you go to the monthly chart and to see red candles are common, they are okay, they are natural. They're a natural part of the process. Things must go down before they can go higher, and it's often a good thing. It's a one of my good friends that I followed on Twitter forever is data at data168. Incredible follow if you don't follow. But he tweeted the other day that seeing a little correction here, especially on these big name AI stocks, is good. It's healthy. It means that the market is being rational, which means that it sets us up potentially for a higher move.
The next run, yep. I don't
And
know. I don't have a whole lot, buddy. I didn't trade much last week. I got in early Monday and Tuesday morning. I was out of the market within an hour of it opening, made a little bit of money each day, and walked away. Volume just wasn't there, so I feel like I'm a little blinded going into this coming week, to be honest.
and that's totally okay, Acro. Totally okay to feel that way. You don't need to have a trade. Some of your favorites, Meta, you may have missed it, but there will always present another trade, and it doesn't have to be right now. can be for can be a while from now. And one that you've talked about a number of times is and feeling like there needs to be some sort of comeback is
Yeah.
Boeing, right? You've talked about Boeing several times.
That was my other Sunday banger. I should have got in Monday morning.
Right. But visualization is kind of a big thing for me. When you see enough charts, you kind of got to kind of think through where it may fall. And I'm totally wrong all the time, but here I could totally see kind of an inverse head and shoulders happening on Boeing. You're going to really need to break and hold this 190 level. But you see a lot of times if you go back to history, and I'll take the RSI off, find a way to do it. There you go. Take the RSI off. But you look at Boeing, and a lot of times it came up to old supports, turned resistance, and for example, we had 225 is kind of a big 225, 226 is a big level, and then we had this 210 level. See, Boeing kind of went back and forth, and as soon as you have these kind of low volume melt ups, is when you do see the big red candles back to support, and it's got to hold that again. So
Yep.
there's many different scenarios that can play out, especially with the uncertainty. You could totally see kind of double bottom before going back up. Many different ways for this to go. I think the biggest thing that I want to convey is to not jump in super heavy into anything. If you're feeling uncertain, the one thing I've always said is just reduce size. Reduce size, and if you don't have any sort of A+ setup that you would consider, sit on your hands. Wait until the market's kind of screaming at you to do something.
Exactly. And we talked, I think it was last week, where both of us pretty much went all cash.
Yep.
I still sitting there. I played a couple of contracts, and both of them Monday and Tuesday were SPY calls, and worked out,
Yeah.
got out, and left.
What's the biggest thing that you've learned from trading during uncertainty? When you're uncertain, like we both are, we are both uncertain.
Yeah.
You go look at Bitcoin right now, and as of the last, hour or so, a couple of hours, you see Bitcoin's kind of taking a little dive here for a few $1,000s back to 87,000. And it was, what preceded it? Low volume candles that came up to an old support turned resistance, right? A lot of people are going to notice this, see Bitcoin down 3%, might panic a little bit. I would not be surprised to see Bitcoin come back to right around 80,000. What is the biggest thing that you learn during trading while uncertain?
Really, I mean, outside of patience, which is, I'm going to use that every day now.
Yeah.
Sizing down if you're going to be in the market, or during times of uncertainty, just stay away for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't advise to not watch the market, because every day you watch candles go up and down, you learn something, hopefully, or you start seeing patterns. You start getting more intuitive as to what possibly is going to happen next. So I would watch it, but keep your hands off the keyboard. Don't buy anything if you're that uncertain. Or, if you're normally a guy that buys 10, 20 contracts, buy one or two.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think sizing is a huge thing. And if you don't have that confidence, which confidence is a huge thing, taking the small wins, especially right now, because everything can really shift in one day. Not holding contracts or anything overnight when you're uncertain is really important, because it kind of clouds your judgment at times.
Mm-hmm.
If you're invested pretty heavily, and just to keep an open mind, size down, keep an open mind, and try to rebuild confidence. Like me right now, I played AMD a lot. I played Netflix a little bit. I've been kind of in options mode. And that's just because I know that there's going to be a ton of short-term changes and moves and price action, and I'm uncertain generally. which options is a good way to capitalize on that. Wouldn't recommend options for everybody, but it has been advantageous. I would say certainly size down and then take every one you can get. If that's 15%, if that's 20%, take it. Take
Yeah.
it. See green, take green. That's what the market is right now. It's going up and down. Nobody's really certain. See wins and take them. And I think another thing, even if if you want a paper trade or just draw out like I did on Boeing, like draw out what you think may happen on Bitcoin, and then just follow it. Yeah, even if you're not trading, um, you can draw out little forecasts that you think might happen. I love going back and looking at forecasts.
Yeah. And draw
Like
trend lines. I mean,
yeah,
up and down, even if you're not playing it, if you're interested or not interested, draw some trend lines that helps you get used to it. And you'll be
yep,
surprised how many times when you draw a trend line, it comes to fruition. And man, that stock comes right back down to that line you drew a month ago
yep,
and reversed and went right back up again. I mean, it
yeah,
happens. I draw trend lines all the time. Just that way, when I'm flipping through the charts, I may not see today what I saw 2 weeks ago,
hmm,
because they were small moves. But when all of a sudden there's a trend line that goes back 2 months ago, and wait a minute, it just hit that trend line again.
yeah.
Now it's got my interest. Now I'm going to keep a closer eye on it to see if it does bounce it, and if it does, I may get in something that I normally wouldn't have.
And you kind of remember, it kind of throws you back to that mindset that you were in when you were kind of forecasting it, and
Hmm.
it builds confidence. And even if you're not trading, follow the market, at least watch it here and there on higher level time frames. Always, when the market's closed, go in and do your screening, go in and do your daily. Okay, what am I seeing, what is the market revealing to me, and how can I play that? And one that I found was interesting to me was IWM. I drew this line back in October where I thought, well, ugly line, but I did say, think it's going to go down to 230. Reason I thought that is because that was old support back in January of 2025. And that's exactly where it hit. It didn't go down as fast as I drew the line, but it is precisely what happened, and
Hmm.
that gives me confidence in what I'm seeing. But
I would
the main
also, newer traders, when you draw a trend line or you draw a level, if you're using TradingView, and I'm sure a lot of other ones do this as well, when you draw the line, it gives you an option in there to put some text. Write down what you were thinking in that text box, because if it
yeah,
was 2, 3 months ago, you're not going to remember what it was probably. But
yeah,
I'm expecting it to follow this, waiting for it to hit 220, blah blah blah. Put it all in there, and it gives you, even if you're not playing it, it gives you confidence that you saw it, you were spot on, and it's a confidence builder.
mm-hmm. See, I just did that. um, But yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff is kind of running back up into old gaps down, and I think we've seen a lot of bullish action, and just know that these rallies, whether it's true or whether it's just a bear market rally, they they they're aggressive. So just know the market is trying to it's almost trying to trick you.
Hmm.
They'll be aggressive and they'll try to make you think go all in, and they'll go the other way. So I would caution everybody, and just watch. There's no need to sell everything right now. That's I'm personally kind of sitting on my hands. I haven't seen a trade scream at me. Once it does, we'll take a look at it. But
Yep.
you look at things maybe you know I'm looking at RGTI, which is a quantum computing stock. This is 50% off highs. Some people think it's a bargain, some don't. So it's just important to watch. We've got a lot of low volume. Be skeptical at first, and then play what the market is giving you, because I think we're going to see some trend days.
Yeah.
We did
You get,
last week.
well, with both of us, you're getting two sides to the same story, basically, because you're more looking to buy contracts on longs. I'm day trading.
Yeah,
So every day is an opportunity for me. As far as I'm concerned, I can make money every single day. If the market goes up or the market goes down, you just have to have the right trade.
Yeah.
Where if you're holding commons, that's not necessarily the case. You're at the mercy of time to have it recover if it took, if you got in too high or whatever. But with options, so my outlook and my take is a little different than Adam's. Going
Mm-hmm.
into like this week, I didn't really pay any attention to the market, and it doesn't really matter to me because come tomorrow morning, I'll jump on SPY and I'll look at it. Where's the RSI? A few other indicators that I use, and if those are hitting and it says it's going to go up, then I'm buying calls. If I'm thinking, well, these are giving me an indication it's going down, I'm buying puts. So I
Yep.
don't really care which way it goes, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I don't own it. I'm just renting it.
Important thing with options, though, I would say, is whenever you buy an option, just remember that every single second you hold that thing, you're continuing to re-buy it. Same thing really goes with commons. You continue to re-buy that. And if you assess it and you say, would I buy this right here? And the answer is no, you should probably sell.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time, though.
It's time.
Give it to us.
It's time for Sunday Bangers.
Sunday bangers. Okay, here's what I've got. I think Sunday bangers today needs to just be a guess. Okay, a guess at where SPY is going to finish at the end of the year. Okay,
Uh-oh, here we go.
I think, and I'm gonna do it. I think that SPY is going to finish, and I'll put a little line here, and maybe I'll do a little note. But I think SPY is going to finish the year probably right in this gap at about 678. I think we're going to see a push to all-time highs, okay? As we talked about last time, push to all-time highs. Maybe we even break it, come back down. I think we finish about just below 680. It's my Sunday banger play. I think that there's still some volatility, but nothing to be too panicked about.
Okay. I
Yourself?
I don't really I don't have any this week, I guess, because I was not really. I say I wasn't in the market. I mean, I played a couple days, but I was out of the market by 10:30 Monday and Tuesday. Didn't bother with Wednesday or Friday, so I don't really feel comfortable to say much about anything. I got the ones I like Tesla, are sitting at a major level of resistance. They need to
Mm-hmm.
break it. If I look at Meta, where's Meta at here? I mean, Meta's having a nice run, and it has just broke 640 on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 680 is its next big level that
Mm-hmm.
I've got drawn anyway. There's probably a few other ones in between there. But
Yep.
if
I
I had to
see
pick one
680.
to continue, it would probably be Meta. If it opens up down, then I would expect it to keep going down. But
Yeah.
it's a tough one. That's sorry, I don't have anything good
Ah,
for you this week.
no, you're good. I think we have upside up until December 10th. December 10th, I think, is going to rock a couple boats. I think we're going to get the 25 basis point cut. I think we're going to be spooked by a little bit of hawkish statements.
Yeah.
And I think the market is going to kind of regulate itself and hover around current all-time highs for, into January. It's my
I,
guess.
I think this coming week is our biggest opportunity week to see some bigger moves.
Yep.
Because the following week, again, everybody's going to be waiting on what the Fed is going to do.
Yep.
But this week, they got a little bit of breathing room. So, whichever way it goes, I would probably look to see some continuation for the majority of the week.
Yep.
We've got other news out there, too. You've got Russia and Ukraine that are actually talking about ending this war. I mean, that's pretty big. It has a big effect on the market. You got to keep an eye on some of that stuff as well. So there's a lot of uncertainty as always, but there's a couple of things that could really push the market one way or the other coming up here in the next 2 weeks, with this coming week being the one that's got, at least as of now anyway, the least. It's not. There's no big information that we know of that we're waiting for. Where the week after, again, it's the Fed. So
Yep. I think low volume continues. All right. Well, this was a very all inclusive kind of overview of where we think the market is going, where it's headed, and just we're human, right? We make plenty of mistakes, and we love just sharing our thoughts as normal humans. So it's been a pleasure. All righty.